Hey everyone, my name is Dante and welcome back to Story Hub. I, female 31, have been best friends with Kat, female 31, since we were 6 years old. We grew up and went to uni together, bought homes on the same street, and are basically family in all the ways that matter. She is a very important part of my life and I love her like a sister. Kat is disabled. She has a degenerative condition and has been in a wheelchair since we were in secondary school. Unfortunately, the world often fails to consider accessibility needs. In uni, this meant that there were a lot of limitations on places we could go together because so many places were inaccessible, uncomfortable, and sometimes downright dehumanizing. This is why a few years after we graduated, we both decided to move out of our parents' places and buy a property on the same street. Our dads and her uncle are tradies and spent nearly 2 years renovating and making both our places accessible. We took it as far as money would allow, and included things like an outdoor kitchen and fire pit, a small bar area, etc. It's made a world of difference. We spend a lot of time at each other's places, do cocktail nights, sleepovers, entertain friends, and when her family visits, we have enough rooms between the two of us to accommodate everyone's needs. Her mom and brother also have varying degrees of mobility issues. We still go out together, but not as often. Here's the problem. 4 months ago, I got married to Tom, 36. He moved in, and after a few weeks of no problems, we started fighting because he wants us to get rid of the modifications made to the house. He feels they spoil the look of the place. The stair lift chair makes the stairs narrow and he bumps himself when he gets up in the night. This part is true. The roll under sinks, cooktops and showers are wasting space which could be optimized for storage or additional decor. The bins are annoying because he has to bend to use top handles instead of foot pedals, etc. He said it's not ableist to want the things in your house to fit your personal needs, that Kat doesn't live here, and I can just spend time with hers. I redid the office to make it so he could have a normal room, but it isn't enough. I told him that I was willing to compromise and keep only the modifications in the high traffic areas and one accessible bedroom and bathroom, so Kat or a guest could have a room when they visit. It would mean the majority of the house would be redone to his tastes, but it's precisely those areas that he hates the most. I refuse to completely get rid of everything because these accommodations mean a lot to me and my family, and he said I'm being an odd by treating him like a guest, choosing my friend over my husband, and making selfish decisions without considering him, especially since he gave up his condo to live with me. Okay, I have a question. Was any of this discussed before you moved in together? I probably will get voted down for this, but I think both of you have valid points. I just don't understand why this wasn't brought up before he gave up his condo and moved in with you. The changes were made ages ago, and he knew what the house looks like because he's slept over, been here when we've hosted and more. We didn't discuss changing the house because he never mentioned having a problem with it and I never thought to ask. What happens if your husband decides he wants to move to find a home that feels like it belongs to both of you and is not near your friend? Or if he gets a really good job offer that requires you to move to another city or country away from your friend? Are you willing to put your marriage first in those situations? I kind of feel like this is an everyone sucks situation here, because I don't think his issue with your house began after he moved in. I think he should have spoken up before moving in and not assume that you would be willing to change the home to fit his preferences. I can't help but wonder if it just became more prevalent an issue once he was there 24/7 and didn't have the option of going back to his condo. I think you and your friend moving into homes right next to each other and you making your home more accessible for her is great when you are single and the only person living in the home. I don't think he is wrong to want to live in a home that is designed to fit your needs and preferences as a couple. I think there needs to be compromise, but I also think you two need couples counseling because I can see his point of view of how it feels like you are choosing making sure your friend feels comfortable in your home over making your husband feel like he has a say in the home that he now shares with you. If any such situation were to arise, we would have that discussion and I would prioritize our relationship. Moving house for his work would be reasonable, but that's not the situation at hand. The situation is that we are not moving for any reason at the moment. And I seem to be the only person who would like to compromise because right now, it's a complete overhaul of the entire house or nothing. Okay, I'm agreeing with the other posters here. Your husband didn't discuss this before marriage, and that's odd. It's almost like he doesn't like your close friendship, and now as your husband feels he should have more control over things. At minimum, he is not a very good communicator, bottling this up before or not thinking things through. At worst, it might be the start of more manipulation. Not an idiot. His point about the house working for those who live there makes sense, except you are a person who lives there too, and part of what makes this house work for you is being accessible. He married and moved in with someone who has clearly gone to great lengths to accommodate their friend, then for some reason expected you to reverse all that. You have also offered a compromise where he clearly just wants to take over the space. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for announcing to the world my ex can't have kids? I, female 34, got divorced from my ex, husband 36M, 4 years ago when I finally got tired of the constant berating and humiliation from him because we couldn't get pregnant despite trying. He kept making comments about it even at events with the rest of the family, making it seem as though it was my body that is the problem even though no doctor ever confirmed that because we never went for an official checkup. I should have insisted, I know, but for some reason I just didn't. I completely believed it must be me. Everyone believed it, and my mother-in-law kept voicing out her disappointments and giving me unwanted advice. Anyway, I reached a breaking point when at Thanksgiving, he made a comment congratulating my brother-in-law about my then pregnant sister finally doing her part in the marriage. I went into a time of complete emotional blackout wherein I just felt so empty and filed the divorce not even a week later. A year later, I met my now husband and it just felt so different. I felt so safe and happy. We got married just 2 years later. He also wanted kids but didn't care if it might be through adoption, so we signed up. However, 6 months ago, I started getting sick in the mornings and was late for my period because lo and behold I am pregnant. We were so happy, but I wasn't ready to announce until I was sure I was. Haven't really unpacked why I was scared of telling people. I finally got the courage and made an announcement 2 weeks ago on Facebook. 3 days later, my ex-MIL called to shame me for celebrating my baby and basically shouting to the world that my ex-husband was the problem and that it's him who can't have kids, saying it will hurt his future prospects and that he's heartbroken and wouldn't get up and eat. My husband saw how distressed I was and hung up the phone for me. She tried calling again and again, but my husband wouldn't have it. Now I'm thinking maybe I should have called my ex to give him a heads up so he wouldn't have been so blindsided and that I took too long to be ready. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. What exactly are you apologizing for? All the times he bullied you. All the times his family mistreated you. You have no reason to spare his feelings, since he never supported yours. Tell them to pound sand. Congratulations. May this and all your kids be healthy and happy. Not the idiot. It's not like you got pregnant at him. I feel this so much. My ex was the problem. But even when we knew it was him, he would make comments about how I couldn't have children, while shaking his head in disappointment. Like it should just be women's burden to bear that accusation. Besides, were you supposed to never announce your pregnancy? Not the idiot. You need therapy because you are still trying to shield this man despite how he treated you. You tolerated his abuse until you couldn't and have no reason to feel any guilt about your pregnancy. I'm thrilled that you found someone like your new husband who is protecting you from your ex-MIL's abuse. Why does she still have your number? You and ex didn't have any kids, didn't have any mutual friends. Cut her and him out of your life. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for not paying for leaving my daughter and son-in-law on the hook for all the damage their guests caused because of the open bar? My daughter recently got married. I helped with the expenses. When we started hashing out the costs for the reception, I said that I would pay for 2 bottles of wine per table, but they should have a cash bar. My daughter said that was tacky and made her look cheap. So I asked her what she wanted instead. She said open bar. So I did the math at 200 guests and I figured 12 drinks each. I gave her enough extra money to purchase that much and told her I did not want to rent the hall. I would write her a check for the costs, but I didn't want my name on any contracts. My wife said I was being a duck but ultimately agreed with me just giving them money and not getting involved. The reception went about like I expected. Inebriated sex in the coat room. The insurance didn't cover intentional damage. And there was one Dewey that thankfully was stopped before he got to public roads, but not before he damaged multiple cars in the parking lot. That also caused several altercations that involved the police. All in all, your average drunken stupidity. The damages to the hall and other stuff was actually several times more than my cost for the open bar. My daughter and son-in-law ended up having to use a good chunk of their wedding gift money to pay. I feel like an idiot for not insisting that they limit drinking. And they are calling me an idiot for making them use money they had planned on their honeymoon and setting up their new home. Not the idiot. It was their wedding. The open bar was their decision. Their friends caused the damage. How should any of this fall to you, either financially or otherwise? I feel like an idiot for not insisting that they limit drinking. They're married. Your job of swooping in and enforcing prudent decisions is done. They can make their own choices and suffer the consequences. Not the idiot. You were very upfront about what you'd pay and the risks of an open bar. Side note, where is the bartender in all this? Unless an open bar meant everyone was literally pouring their own drinks, a bartender was serving and should have very much been paying attention to overserving. If the venue provided the staff, they may well be responsible for some of this. Not the idiot, but what is with open bars in this sub? The stories that come out of them are wild. I've been to over 24 weddings, all had an open bar except for one. There was one occasion in which it became an issue, but that was because the reception began at 4 and dinner was somehow not served until 9:30 p.m. It was only 2 guests out of 200, which I found pretty remarkable considering the venue was refilling drinks without asking after not serving food for that long. Not the idiot. You were extremely clear with what you'd help cover, and it was generous of you to even provide what you did. Not all parents help with weddings. Just because they're upset about what situation doesn't mean you're responsible for fixing it. I don't even think the open bar is responsible. People who can't drink without causing significant property damage should have enough respect for the bride and groom to limit their drinking. Now for the last story. Am I the idiot for telling my mom I'm not my brother's therapist? Recently, my younger brother, male 13, had come out to my parents about his mental health. I, female 16, have known about this for a while since I am the person who listens to his problems. I have serious mental health problems, which I don't like people knowing about, therefore I keep it to myself. During the talk my brother had with my parents, they couldn't understand how to comfort him, therefore they called me down and asked for my opinion. My opinion was to get him a therapist. They got mad at me for that idea and sent my brother upstairs. As we were alone, they started yelling at me, saying I shouldn't have said such a thing, and as a family, we should be each other's backbone. I told them that I think my brother needs someone he can talk to, knowing he won't be judged and can get professional help. My mom yelled at me, saying he could talk to me and trust me not to judge him. That's when I snapped and told her I wasn't a therapist and won't ever be my brother's therapist. There was some more yelling until I stormed off to my room. I'm feeling like the idiot because of how I handled the situation, and my brother, male 17, called me one because of the way I reacted. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Being a therapist is not the same thing as seeking support or a backbone. So your parents' argument is not credible. If my family member needs mental help, I can support them by helping them find a therapist or mental health professional, driving them to appointments, encouraging them to try someone else if their first therapist doesn't click with them, etc. What I cannot do is be the therapist and divided by our mental health professional. Mental, emotional health are just as vital and just as real as physical health. You would not be expected to diagnose and treat a physical ailment. Why would they expect you to diagnose and treat a mental, emotional ailment? No wonder he kept it to himself for so long. And no wonder you're keeping yours a secret now. Not the idiot. The fact that your parents don't recognize that mental health problems require professional help is deeply disturbing. He needs family, yes, but family isn't a solution to address mental health issues. Your parents do not understand mental health problems, so they yell at you. They are the idiot here. I hope you and your brother can help you without them.